when it starts. That's the biggest problem. Hey everybody, Chef AJ here. How are you? So today I am going to be telling you exactly what I've decided definitively to do for my lung cancer treatment. And I have my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Matt Lederman here, because sometimes he asks some medical type questions and I have no idea how to answer those. But before we get into what I'm going to be doing for my lung cancer treatment, I want to show all the wonderful gifts that I've got. Not all of them. I've been showing them as I get them. But the first thing I want to say is thank you so much. I mean, I feel so loved. I'm getting gifts from people I've never met. It's like the song Rhinestone Cowboy, getting cards and letters from people I don't even know. But I would ask if you could tell me who you are, because we love to send you a thank you note, or call you or text you or email you, but some of the gifts are coming like from Amazon, and Amazon will not disclose unless it has an Amazon gift receipt. So I'll let you know the anonymous ones, but please always give us your contact information so we can get back to you. So first I'd like to, he'll be the, he can be my Matt, you can be my Vanna White with these gifts. So please welcome Dr. Matt Lederman. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, AJ.
Well, I hear you're becoming quite the improvisational comedy actor in LA.
Oh my God, and very much thanks to you. And it seems like there's a lot of parts that are harder than medical school for me.
Because I think you've got that scientific brain, and improv isn't like physics. It's so different. The arts and I don't know why they call it arts and sciences, because to me the arts and the sciences are completely different. I think you use different parts of your brain actually.
I think so. Sometimes if I can tell my brain starts to hurt, that means I'm thinking too much, which, like you said, then you're not doing improv. So
Right.
there's a
Well,
big part of me that wants to get things right all the time.
there are doctors that have become comedians. I can't think of his name. Do you know who I mean? That really funny guy from Hangover? Ken, I think is his first name. There actually are doctors that have become comedic actors. So, there must be something to it. Anyway, I can't wait to do it with you in person. But let's get to the presents first. And so the first gift was from Longevity. And I love this shirt because it says anyone with lungs can get lung cancer, which is so true. And it's soft and it's blue. So thank you very much, Marcy, for facilitating this. They'll be on the show soon. And if there's anything you like, Matt, I'll send you some of it. I can't share a t-shirt, but for example, Kaylin Harwell Skincare. This is one of the nicest lines of vegan skincare out there. And she sent me just this generous box of all these different products. I'll show my favorite. If you want to order it, I'll give a link in the show notes for a discount code. It's the soft as a peach cream. She's a vegan herself, an ethical vegan. All her products are just beautiful and vegan, and they smell incredible. Thank you, Kaylin, for thinking of me. Brittany Giroudi, who's been on the show many times, knows I've suffered from anxiety, and she got me this thing. It looks like an asthma nebulizer, but it's called the CamiGo. And it's a little bit more complicated, Matt, than the one you have, because it requires an app and some essential like smelly stuff. I have to actually have a lesson to use this, but she says it's unbelievable. And she got me a year subscription. Thank you, Brittany, for that. Okay, so Matt, this gift you would love because you're a doctor. There's a lady named Peggy Clancy that writes books just like the New Yorker, but these are all medical joke type things. This book is hilarious. If this is the kind of thing that I'm going to buy, like when I want to get a gift for a doctor, because it's like the New Yorker of medical cartoons. And she wrote these, and I'll also have a link where you can get these. So thank you for that. And she gave me this card. I don't know why, but this card, it's like it calms me down just to pet this soft heart card. So this is fun because people know I love comedy, and people also know I love Snoopy and Peanuts. And so Chris and Lucy Berger from our meetup group gave me a Peanuts t-shirt with all the characters, and it says love, and it's also very soft. So a lady came to my meetup named Christina, and people also know purple is my favorite color, and stones are very healing. This is a beautiful, beautiful amethyst. So it's supposed to be protective stone that transforms negative energy into love and enhances intuition and aids connection to the divine. That's what it says. So thank you for that. So Teresa, who I've known for a long time, met her at True North years ago. She's taken some of my programs. I didn't realize at first she wrote this book, but it's an adult coloring book with mandalas, but they're all fruits and vegetables and she gave me some really cool pens to go with it. So it's a vegan coloring book. And I'm going to put a link if you want to buy this. This is one of the coolest ones. Matt, have you ever done an adult coloring book?
No, but Alona loves them. What's that? Let me see that.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to get it
Vegan.
for Alona. I'm going to get it for her. Don't get it for her. I want to get her. I want to get her a present. But I'm going to get her one like this because I'll have the link. But does Alona have pens or pencils to color with it?
Yeah, she just takes the kids, so we're good.
Okay, so don't, she's probably not watching, but this is one of the coolest adult coloring books. So this is from Ruth, and she got me a book. I have heard of this gentleman because he was interviewed by Chris Wark. He's apparently with lung cancer used integrative alternative interventions and lived to a very long age. I don't know if he's still with us, but he was a 38-year lung cancer survivor. So if he is alive, you can bet I want to interview him. The nurse at Dr. Nedley's office gave me some date syrup, which you know I'm going to use. Thank you, Christina. Which now comes to our meeting. Oh, okay. I have so many blankets. I don't know if immunotherapy is going to make me cold, but I will definitely take my different blankets. This is from Diane Ramus. Peanuts again, and Snoopy specifically, and Woodstock, who are my two favorites. And it is just, it's so, I love things that are soft. So this is a beautiful, incredible blanket. I could see Bailey actually wanting to lay on this. And people make homemade gifts too, which it's unbelievable. This is from Maria Melton, and she crocheted this. It's a prayer shawl, and it's purple, and it's also very warm. So thank you. We're getting close to the end, right?
Uh-huh.
That might be the end. I already did
Nope.
this one.
Oh, you did that one?
Okay, wow, here we go. This is from Alana Pessin. I'm not sure I'm going to wear this on Thursday, but I love what it says. It is a hat that says the F word plus cancer. So I totally agree with the sentiment, but I'm going to be choosy about where I wear it because I don't like to offend people intentionally, but it's a fantastic hat. Thank you so much. Maybe I will wear it Thursday, you know?
So the one that has 4 things.
Okay, so another wonderful blanket. I love things that are soft, blue and white. The purple one doesn't have the name. This is from Michelle McGuire, but if there's more in the Michelle McGuire box. If you can hand it to me, my little assistant here. She got me this beautiful 6-pointed Jewish star that you could hang. And what else? Oh, a journal. And there's more.
This is the
So this is really cool. She has Father Ryan Dune praying for me at Mass. That is very, very cool. I need all the prayers I can get. Thank you. Anything else? No, there's the purple blanket. So this is the one that came from Amazon without an Amazon receipt and no name. And I'd really love to be able to thank you. This is a very beautiful blanket. It's also in my favorite color. It has inspirational words, and I don't know who to thank. So please only come forward if you really sent it. And please write help@chefaj.com so that we can thank you. Oh my gosh, one more gift, and then we'll start this real show. So this is very extraordinary. I don't know if the person whose name is Reiko Hattori, I hope you're watching, because you didn't include an address on the box. It was only a partial address. So Reiko, if you're watching, I showed this yesterday when I was teaching a class, a cooking class for UC Berkeley, where Miyoko Shinner is the professor, and Miyoko is Japanese, and she has heard of this. But anyway, it is called I think it's called a senzaru. And so these are 1,000. This thing is so big. This is 1,000 origami cranes. And the idea is she said, there's now 1,000 people that are praying for me. And this is just, it's just so cool. It's symbolic and it's beautiful. I have one origami crane, but now I have 1,000. So I don't know if you made this or bought this. I think it's called a sensabu, but this is amazing. So I feel the love. I appreciate your presence. Just make sure you let us know who you are and how to get in touch with you. All right. Now back to this, Matt. All right. Have you ever seen so many presents in your
Oh my
life?
God. Feel the love. Feel the love.
I feel like a Make-A-Wish kid, you know? I mean, I got to go. Oh, we haven't done a live show together since Disneyland, have we?
Yeah, tell people about Disneyland.
I know I flaked on Matt's family, so I was supposed to go for 2 days, but I was 55 the last time I went to Disneyland, and at 65, it is so hard. I mean, we were there for 12 hours. We did 14 rides, and I don't think we ever sat down during that 12 hours, except for 5 minutes when I tasted my first Dole Whip. And so I was so tired, I flew home early. I couldn't do the second day at California Adventure, but I'll be back and I'll do it with you and your family. But, it's funny how about Disneyland, because it's changed and it's stayed the same, which is what I love about it, because everything I remember that I loved about Disneyland as a child, things like the Tiki Room and Pirates, it's all still there, but then they sometimes upgrade it and embellish it. And they have two new towns that they didn't have 10 years ago, Toontown and Star Wars Land. Everybody loves the Rise of the Resistance. I don't get it, Matt. I didn't like it. It
No,
was
you
so
didn't, huh?
it was so boring. And we had sorry, Star Wars fans. Well, first of all, I've never seen the Star Wars movie, so I don't understand anything about that. And we had to pay an extra 25 bucks for it. So it's like, what is all the hullabaloo? But there was a new ride called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Train that I would have gone 10 times. I think it's now my new favorite ride. It was just precious. And it's interesting. And I say this, I don't say this to be mean, but because I still have my toe in the weight loss world, and Dr. Furman was on the show yesterday, there were so many scooters. And I don't mean like scooters because people were always in a scooter and disabled, but like you can rent an electric scooter there now for the day. It's like it was like the movie Wall-E. People didn't want to walk or wait in line. I mean, there was like more scooters than strollers. It was crazy.
Yeah, when I go there now, it really does remind me of the movie Wall-E. And people, and it's a little bit sad because the part of the joy for me is walking around and spending time with everybody. And at the same time, there's people that have disabilities and can't walk, and I understand that as well. But if we can help people get healthier and we can help people potentially lose weight to make it easier to walk, I think that would be really exciting. I think they would get even more joy out of the experience.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I agree, but you can't help them if they don't even see that it's a problem. And it's become so rampant. And, I heard, and a while back, one of my favorite rides, Small World, was closed. But I heard a while back that they actually had to close it and refurbish it because people are so much heavier now than they were when Disneyland opened, that the boats were getting stuck and stalling. That wasn't open, and the train and the monorail weren't open because I at some point I wish I could have sat down, and there were none of those rides where you can just kind of sit down. And I missed the only ride I didn't get to was the Matterhorn. It was 8 o'clock. We had been there 12 hours, and it was like I just could, you get to the point where you can't do one more ride. But I'll tell you, as I get older, I don't know how you feel about this, Matt. Those herky jerky rides and the roller coasters, they're not as fun as I remember.
Yeah, I know, as the shaking and the head slamming, and now they want them to be even more intense. So as we get older and the rides get more intense.
It's funny because the teacups were always one of my favorite rides. And this time, my friend snapped a picture of me, and that I wasn't faking. You could see like I was about to throw up. I just, I feel like that old song, The Old Gray Mare, she ain't what she used to be. But there's still so much to do at Disneyland, and it really is the happiest place on earth. I can't imagine you ever being in a bad mood at Disneyland, even on a rainy day. There's just something about Disneyland.
Yeah, it's so hard. Every little detail, there's just so much happiness and fun and injected in there. It's one of Alona's favorite places, and it's just super fun. And I remember the ride. Remember the ride where you would go against the wall and then you would spin real fast, and then the floor would go out, so you'd be
Yeah,
stuck to the wall.
I believe I know what you're talking about. That they have that at Magic Mountain. I can't think of the name, but yeah.
And it's like, I even think about that ride, I'm going to throw up now. But I used to love that stuff. So it's just,
Yeah.
as we get
I,
older,
I remember when I was on that ride for the first time, I was 11. It was, I think, Magic Mountain. I think it was, I forget what it's called. If anybody remembers the ride name, put it in the chat. And so my shoe fell off. And when the shoe fell off, they couldn't stop the ride unless I could wiggle down and get the shoe. And so we were on that ride for like 20 minutes longer. It was very, very funny. But I do like that kind of stuff. But I love Fantasyland. I just, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I love the innocence. That's why I love going to the Charles M. Schulz Museum whenever I'm in Santa Rosa, because I just love yesteryear,
Yeah, the innocence. That's really what it comes down to. There's just you're just present in the moment and enjoying the being there. That it's wonderful.
Yeah, and I thank all of you because you know who you are, who sent me there. So that, and I still want to go to Disney World with you or whoever wants to go. I want to be finished with cancer treatment though, so that I can enjoy it.
I think
So
I think
speak,
we got to do a week trip there. We should do some type of conference or where we get to go Disney during the day and connection in the evening. And
I agree. I think that would be fabulous. And let's look forward to that. Maybe it won't happen in 2025, but 2026. And that's the nice thing of having plans. I think, especially when you have what could be for some a terminal disease. I love the idea of having something to look forward to. And for me, what I'm looking forward to now most this year, other than a couple of trips to Rancho La Puerta that was, they were scheduled a long time ago, is this conference in Vegas that I've been asked to host because I feel like having like a goal and something to look forward to is really going to help me, get better to, if you have nothing to look forward to, then, what's the point? But I have a lot to
yeah,
look forward to. So
yeah, it makes a huge difference. And something, it doesn't have to be huge either. It can be something small, but those things to look forward to are very important.
absolutely. I think that's important for everyone. So I'm doing well. In case anybody's wondering, I can't fake this. I wasn't doing well for a long time, but I feel, Matt, that knowing that I'm doing something has helped me tremendously. It has helped my mood, has helped my anxiety. And even if I'm making not the best decision or the right decision, because nobody knows until we look back, doing something is better than doing nothing for me and for my psychology. Because this idea of walking away from doctors and doing nothing and just sitting there and watching it grow was not working for me.
Yeah, and that's what's so important to do what works for you to figure out. And for doctors, and it sounds like many of your doctors now have leaned into focusing on what works for you versus just telling you what you need to do and helping you identify what you're comfortable with is to me the key of being a good doctor.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is I'm really trying to like change. I don't know what the word is, my mindset or the way I deal with people and, practicing things like all the things like the Dalai Lama would and love and forgiveness. And, what I'm realizing in all the work I'm doing, the person that I needed to forgive the most in life was myself. And that was like, whoa, and just doing this kind of deep inner work, which is not that fun necessarily, but when it's over, it feels so much better, than having all this stuff. I'm not going to be able to articulate it as good as you, but I find that the more relaxed and kinder I treat myself, it's getting easier to be sometimes with people that don't always see my side or want to do what I want. Like it's easier to be in the world right now is what I'm saying. And so, it's funny because I, it, the one oncologist I have that always was like a little bit like, not like warm and fuzzy, like she's actually become like kinder, So did she change? Did I change my perception of her? I don't know. It's just, it's all good.
But the more you suppress, and can you share more about what you mean by forgiving yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And some people know this story. I mean, it just depends because not everybody knows every nuance of my life because I haven't shared it. But, if they've read my books, especially The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, where it's autobiographical. So, I mean, there are people that have done things to me that are not pleasant that I've kind of like still remembered and kind of grumbled about. And I have worked on forgiving them. But I realized that the thing that was really tripping me up the most in life, and again, I don't know if this is partly what accounts for the last scan, which by the way was better. And this is mind blowing, guys. My last CT and PET scan are better even before I started treatment. And like nobody can really explain why for the first time in 2.5 years, things are getting better. And I haven't started treatment yet. But I've been doing a lot of this mental emotional work. And so when my baby died in 2000, Rachel, basically what happened is this was my first pregnancy at the age of 40, and my husband and I had no younger siblings, and at the time we had no money. We were apartment managers, and I started bleeding in the pregnancy. And we weren't going to have an amniocentesis just because we felt like we're not against, if people want to have, I don't want to get political, but if people want to have an abortion, I don't get in their face, just like with the death penalty, but I never saw myself as like somebody that would want to do that. And what happened is the doctor said that we have to know what we're dealing with. So we had an amniocentesis, and it was so funny because the needle's like this long, and I don't like needles, but Charles is the one that actually fainted. And they found out that this was a severely what they call flawed pregnancy. And so I was rushed to Cedars-Sinai, and I had to see a high-risk neonatologist because in 2 days after the day that this happened, the state of California would consider my pregnancy, anything after that, a live birth, and it couldn't be terminated. And so the high-risk neonatologist said that this baby has Down syndrome, which was not a deal breaker at all because I know people that are very high functioning with Down syndrome. And she says, you know, you can't test for intelligence in utero, so we don't know if she's going to be high functioning like the friends you've mentioned or needs to be institutionalized. But she said the bigger problem is that this baby has no tricuspid valve and she has a hole in all 4 chambers of her heart. And if she does live to be, you know, born, she is going to need immediate and frequent open heart surgery. And she said, so nobody can make the decision for you. And because I had now, because it was a weekend and then it would have been live birth, I basically had like, I had to decide right then whether or not I was going to terminate this pregnancy. And there was nobody really like a Mark or you to help me make that decision. I didn't have time to talk to a rabbi or anybody. And so we thought that the most loving thing to do would be to terminate the pregnancy. Well, we did that. And for 25 years, I never actually was ever able to grieve for that baby because everybody said it wasn't a real baby. And so I never really had any kind of closure with that. But all the people in the metaphysical world, like that I've talked to, like even in these places in Mexico, say that lung cancer is grief. Lungs are grief. And so I just basically have been living for 25 years thinking that I killed my baby. And so I recently, there's just the most wonderful people that watch my show that are doctors that have been calling me, and a couple of them were anesthesiologists actually, because my concern was is it that the baby suffered, you know, like was the anesthesia enough? Did she feel the termination? And so I actually, and this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but I don't care. I last week I talked to a psychic medium that's very well known that I've known for years. And I got to talk to my baby on the other side. And I felt that, and she did not feel that, she felt I did the right thing. She said that she would not have wanted to be born into that body and that she actually left, her soul had left before the termination. And so that's the story.
What a beautiful story to be able to connect to her and be able to get the reassurance that she's okay and got the care and I just imagine that such a relief to be able to have that connection in that way and to take that 20, you know, what was it 25 years you said of
February 1st was 25 years after she died. And
25 years.
the hard thing was is I go from this session of connecting with her, then I have to go right to improv class. And it's like, talk
Whoa.
about like changing emotions. And, you know, they're just
What did you, AJ, what did you do? And again, only as much as comfortable as
no,
you are.
I mean, the cat's out of the bag. And I wrote about this in the book. It's not like I've been keeping it a secret, but I've
But
just
what did you do what happened that was for 25 years to hold this sense of I hurt or killed or did this to my baby? What helped you shift to that place of forgiveness and understanding and
Yeah, well, I'm not completely there yet, but working with a trauma therapist and working with Mark as well has really, really been beneficial. Mark, if you don't know, we had a show last Friday with him. He's the guy that does the healing from the inside out work. And, you know, I don't know if I've completely forgiven myself because, you know, I had 3 flawed pregnancies after that. And in my own Jewish guilt mind, it was like, well, I'm being punished because I killed my first baby. But it's just been horrible walking around for 20, I'm like, I don't even kill bugs, like I relocate them. And this idea that it's been really hard for me. And I've never connected with the right, maybe mental health professional or person that could explain it to me. Having had so many flawed pregnancies after that, I feel like if I had just done nothing, she would have died naturally like the other ones. But the other thing that was so traumatic is they didn't get the whole baby out. And so I needed so many this is the thing. And this is probably where I developed this like intense fear of general anesthesia, because I needed so many operations after that, because like her thoracic bone was lodged in me, and it was like, oh my God, it's like I had to keep revisiting that. And then the third pregnancy, he was a boy named Chad who died right, before being a live birth too. He died inside me. And in that particular case, I actually did need emergency surgery. And that is when I developed panic disorder, because I couldn't, I'm already afraid of going to the dentist. And like when somebody said, like once they whisk you, that it was the most traumatic thing. So that's what I'm working on. And, I'll be doing some more work on that, writing letters to my babies and things like that. But it's amazing how something that happened in the long ago past can still haunt you 25 years later, if it's not dealt with. And they say the only way out is through. And so now, basically to save my life, I'm dealing with all the shit that I should have done years ago. But, I just didn't know how, because, when you go to just regular therapists, it's not, not that they're not good for some things and some people, but this idea when you have like when you don't have a body, it's like you can't have a funeral. And I feel like I need to do some kind of ceremony, like planting a tree, or like it's crazy, like 25 years later, like it still messes with me. And I believe that is the key to me healing from lung cancer, along with what we're going to do, which is traditional medicine. I feel like there's no reason we can't do both, because I want to take the same approach that this guy did, even though I don't know him, and he had a different kind of cancer. He was Dr. Doug Lyle's professor. I would love if he's still alive to interview him, but he had glioblastoma and he lived a lot longer, and he did like a multi-pharma, like he did everything. And so, I don't really want to do chemo, radiation, and surgery. That everything is not what I want to do, but anything else I'm willing to try, no matter how strange or woo-woo it is. And I've done some of the off-label things, and Matt, we can talk about them, because I've been on ivermectin and menbendazole, and that might be the reason that the tumors are getting smaller even before traditional treatment, if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But I before we jump into that, I think AJ, just to highlight the courage it takes to touch and hold these painful experiences that, as you've very clearly put, they live in your body. This trauma lives in your body. It's like I think of it like an energy that until you spend time with it and let it pass through, it just builds up and festers in there. And this process that you're doing, imagine having to hold these feelings alone and to not be able to mourn and grieve and to deal with the criticism and judgment of other people. And now you're getting the acceptance and the care and the connection that you really needed all these years. And when you don't have that and it's just pent up inside, that you have to suppress it. And then it comes out as anxiety, and it comes out as mobilization, and it comes out as inflammation. It comes out all these different ways. And that you're spending time with it. It sounds like you feel a lightness, but what's really interesting is to see what you've been doing, and all of a sudden the cancer is behaving differently. Whether it's causative, we can't know for sure, but it's quite interesting to me.
Well, that's why I think it's like a whole patient approach is best. And that's why I like going to integrative doctors, because, we talk about mind-body medicine. And I think one of the best lines ever uttered on my show with Dean Ornish, when we talked about how some doctors don't believe like that, your mind has anything to do with your body. And he said, well, have you ever had an erection? That so many doctors it's not the doctor's fault. When my grandfather was a physician, You know, he was called a general practitioner. And I believe Dr. McDougall at the beginning of his career did everything from brain surgery to delivering babies. But now with specialization, it's all the parts, you know, I don't want to say nobody, but unless you do have like an integrative doctor, nobody treats the whole person at the same time.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's getting worse instead of better. I would love to open up a medical school that is focused on both. I don't think you can be a really effective general practitioner if you don't bring all the different pieces. There's benefits of conventional medicine, there's benefits of nutrition, there's benefits of connection and mental health, and you have to put it all together. If you can't put it all together, you can't you don't have all the tools you need to support someone's healing, assuming that's what your focus is.
Yeah.
And I think,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Asia.
No, I was going to say, and that's why, you know, one of the things, and you know, I don't want like my channel to just be about me and lung cancer. As a matter of fact, today after the show, we're shooting 7 recipes because I'm still a chef and I still like making recipes. But one of the things I did early on, because I was like a deer in the headlights with this and like completely frozen from this diagnosis and not knowing what to do. And this idea of doing nothing, which, you know, at first that's what, I mean, I don't know what Dr. McDougall would think right now. And I actually had a dream about him the other day. And I keep trying to, I actually did talk to him on the other side too. I should do another session, but what he would think about what's going on now. But this idea of doing nothing was very scary to me because my acting teacher, Joan Darling, who's been on the show twice, actually on the day I was diagnosed in April of 2023, she always used to say, the problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're done. And so one of the things I did was through the help of Dr. Laura Bruce, who's been on this show. She specializes in OCD, and I actually had sessions with her. And I don't know, Charles, if you're watching, can you bring it? So, Matt, you know what these big white erase boards are? Like you'll see them at schools and conferences, right? They're
Right.
huge, like,
Yeah.
and it's as big as this screen behind me. And one of the things she had me do it is write down like all the possibilities, because the problem I get with just whatever's wrong with my thinking or OCD or anxiety is I see like, oh my God, there's only one thing. You know, I have lung cancer. Like literally, this was me. I have lung cancer. I'm going to die. Like I wasn't seeing that there could be any other options, right? Like that's how my mind sometimes works. And what she tried to teach me is there's other possible outcomes and other possible options. And I go, well, I don't like what's being offered. Like, I don't want to have my whole lobe removed. I don't want to have chemo. I don't want to have radiation. And so what she does when I have sessions with her is to show me that there's actually more things that you could do. And what really helped me, and it helped me make the decision, I have this gigantic board and because I kept this silent for so many years, people don't know everything I did, like to investigate treatments. But I had several interviews with alternative places in all across the United States and Mexico and other countries. So I spent a lot of time researching and talking to people. And even though I may not have done that, every time I did that, I had this board now with options. Do you see what I'm saying? It wasn't just chemo, radiation, and surgery. It was all these other things I could do. I talked to the Gerson Center and I talked to the Brio and it was like, wow, it's not just the standard of care. And so by seeing that there's other things people could do, and then also talking to people, I don't know how people go through this alone, like without a buddy or a mentor. And the more people I talk to, the more confidence I have that I'm not necessarily going to die, or at least die of this or die soon. The more I meet people that are long-term survivors of any cancer, or especially lung cancer, it gives me confidence in what I'm doing. And especially because, you know, especially in the plant-based world, it's like never do chemo. You know, it's like the plant-based people are like sometimes the most the least helpful in a situation like this, because you should never take drugs, you should never do this. But I'm talking to people, and I'm talking about hundreds now in these groups I'm in, that have had the standard of care, and maybe they have side effects like neuropathy or whatever, but they're still kicking years later. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I think it's our job to give information and opinions when they're asked for, but more importantly, to figure out what resonates with each patient. And if we're not doing that, then I think we're doing a disservice.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so glad that you found a team of people that are willing to support you. And it's not that you're not interested in new information or you're not interested in stretching, but there's a range of tolerance, and we have to figure out what that is for patients. And for you, for example, chemotherapy and radiation or surgery, that was not within your range of tolerance.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not going to ever say never anymore, because I'm getting, like, now that I've had so much work with Mark on my anxiety, I'm getting braver. And that doesn't mean, like, you know, somebody sent me this video today, and actually it was Mar Nealon, who you know, and she said, well, this is how this lady cured her anxiety. She jumped out of a, you know, off a cliff with a, you know, with a, it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. And I don't think that's going to cure my anxiety. But the more things I have done, like, the braver I'm getting. And especially if you're watching, I don't know if I should say their names. So there's two plant-based, it really helped me. Talking helps so much, because you can't, like, just go talk to an anesthesiologist the way you can, like, a psychologist. But you know who you are. There are two plant-based anesthesiologists, one who's retired and one who's still working. And they allow me to text them, like, all my scary questions. And they're making me feel like, you know, if I ever did have to have anesthesia, like, it's safer now, and there's things I can do. And that's just been really enormously helpful. That this is how people have helped me so much, by their kindness and sharing their expertise with me. But, like, I'm getting, like, good at this kind of stuff, because, you know, having had an endoscopy, a colonoscopy, a sigmoidoscopy, and a lung biopsy without any anesthesia, like, I'm tough, Matt. I'm tough. Most people can't do that, you know?
That is very true. Most people cannot do what you've done, Asia.
Yeah, so, and it was actually harder to go to the dentist a couple weeks ago to get a new crown. But, you know, I feel like with you know, here's how I feel with nitrous oxide, I can do anything. So I don't know why they don't just give that to you for anxiety or for these other scarier procedures. Because I'll tell you, Matt, if you're worried that you're not funny at improv, I mean, if we could pump nitrous oxide into the rooms when we're performing, everything is funny.
So that's your solution. We're going to give everybody a canister of nitrous that says
Yeah, if possible,
FAJ on the canister.
or just give it to me. But, you know, so anyway, each step I'm getting braver. And listen, you know, the hardest part for me, and maybe you can speak to this, because I don't know anything about cancer except for what I've been learning, is the hardest part of taking a medicine or having treatment for me is 2.5 years later, I have no symptoms of lung disease at all, other than my, you know, regular asthma. And that's why it's hard for me going into treatment on Thursday thinking, gosh, I'm taking all this medicine, this strong medicine. But, you know, that people have told me that by the time you get symptoms with lung cancer, it's really, really advanced. So, yeah, that's been the hardest part, is that I feel well, you know, I have a few side effects. Like, I mean, I have lost a lot of hair. You probably can't see it the way it's cut, but I have, from stress, not from cancer. But otherwise, I'm healthy, except for
Knowing, exactly, knowing. And it's hard because cancer can do different things. Some cancers can grow and go away, some can grow and just stop, some can grow and keep growing. And you're trying to figure out, you know, we talk about averages, whatever happens to everybody, but the people that you don't hear about the people that had cancer and then it went away, because a lot of times they don't even know. So you don't know, and you found yours by accident.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
called
like you're,
incidental. And the thing
yeah.
is if I had a choice, if I could go back in time, I would have chosen not to know, because it would, that, you know, that would have been me. Other people, like, now are coming to me because they go, well, now I got a scan and because of you, and I have a 2 millimeter tumor, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to make them crazy, you know?
Yeah. And I think people don't take that part into account, that some knowing has a risk to it as well as not knowing. And
Yeah,
they both come with their pros and cons.
yeah.
Should we tell everybody what your scan showed?
Yeah, please. And I mean, I could probably pull up a picture of the tumor, but yeah, you can explain as a doctor how it got better. I was quite surprised, because I had only been on ivermectin for 3 weeks. I had not yet started the menbendazole, and I wasn't even at the full dose. And I did stop the ivermectin because it was giving me such,
Right.
you know, but I went back on it just at 12 milligrams. I've not gone back to 48 yet, because I didn't want to go to Disneyland and not be able to see, you know,
Right.
Pluto.
Exactly. Exactly. So just to summarize, then you were diagnosed with lung cancer that eventually spread to a nearby lymph node, and that's why they called it a stage 3. But it did not spread any distant organs. And this was over the last couple of years, it was steadily, at first it was going a little slower, and then on the last scan grew a little faster, and it spread to a lymph node. At least we had evidence that it spread to a lymph node. But then this recent scan, it showed that the tumor, and this is 3 months later, that the tumor in the lymph node it spread to have stayed the same size, or and maybe even got a slightly smaller. And what else was interesting is their activity level, which is measured by how much sort of sugar the cancer cell absorbs in this PET scan, that decreased. So it was going up, and then now it's decreased. So this is a sign that the cancer is responding or possibly responding to something that you're doing, and is currently at least not growing, which is fantastic. And that there's something about your immune system that's helping it at least stay under control. And then eventually, as you saw the metabolic activity with in the PET scan, the SUV score, that is going down, which means that the metabolic activity of the cancer is down. So now it's really exciting. There's no signs the cancer has spread further or become more aggressive, and that keeping it under control and stable, preventing further spread and maintaining your quality of life, not doing something that's going to hurt you, is really the name of the game. So continuing to monitor treatment, as we're going to talk about, stress, sleep, nutrition, all that stuff that you're talking about. And your diet, if anything, some people are saying, oh, if your diet was a little, more strict, which I don't know how you could have gotten more strict, but I think you said that you had some people saying, well, why don't you try this or try this?
Well, just,
And
you
if
know,
anything,
just be
you said
100%, 100, they want me to be 100% raw.
raw or whatever. But if anything, I think your diet was a little bit less strict over this period of time where it got better, because you were really strict
I
early
was
on. Is
really
that
strict.
correct?
Oh my God. Since I met Dr. Goldhammer, so for like, oh my God, for 13 years, I was like Goldhammer perfect. I didn't step out of line at all. And yeah.
So this idea that it's staying the same or maybe even getting a little smaller is, to me, a testament to you're doing the ivermectin, the mebendazole. Not sure if that works, how it works, but could that have had an impact? According to Dr. Makis, said yes, it can happen that quickly. But the other thing that you're doing, though, that's to me is so important, and some doctors don't give this credit, is the work that you're doing around stress, anxiety, suppressed emotion. And we talked about the cell danger response. That's a natural survival mechanism. The body goes into fight or flight mode whenever, it's basically focusing all its energy on dealing with any type of perceived threat. And over time, the body doesn't return to this relaxed state, which can weaken the immune system and make it harder for the body to fight off things like cancer, because your immune system is what is your natural cancer fighter, and preventing it from growing. And eventually we want it to attack it and get rid of it, but at least stop from growing. And so something in your body has stopped it, at least over this time period, from growing when before it was steadily growing. Also, stress affects how our genes behave. We talked about the conserved transcriptional response to adversity. And when you're under chronic stress, your body shifts into this state of inflammation, which fuels tumors, reduces your immune system's ability to detect and destroy abnormal cells, including cancer. And then we even talked about polyvagal theory and nervous system regulation, which we talked about the WeBecome device trying to help you sort of turn on and increase regulation. But it's basically just the lay term, the polyvagal theory talks about how the nervous system has sort of two key states, one that activates us to respond to danger and one that helps us feel safe and calm. So when you're working on things to calm the nervous system through the deep breathing that we talked about, and the mindfulness and the supportive relationships and the laughter, all of this shifts your body into a calmer state, signaling that it's safe for your body to focus on healing and repairing. And that by basically doing that, turning those systems on towards safety and repair, reducing stress and anxiety, you're helping your immune system stay strong, lower inflammation, and create conditions that it makes it harder for cancer to grow. So it's basically giving the body the message that it's okay to rest and heal instead of staying stuck in survival mode, which you were doing for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the WeBecome.
Yeah, and just using that at night before bed, just to build that calming muscle, so that at any point you take an exhalation throughout the day, you can take a wee breath, and now your body knows what to do. It's so powerful.
Yeah, I do this every night before bed. I'll put a link to this. Charles has one too. Also, the problem is whatever whatever I'm doing, the person that thought of it's probably going to take credit for this is why it happened. But I feel like everything combined
Everything.
is going to make a difference. And one thing that Dr. Mackus put me, I mean, and I don't know if Dr. Mackus would come on the show because we've asked, we haven't heard. You can follow him. I think mostly he's active on Twitter, which I don't go on very much, even though I'm technically on it. But he, one of the things he also because he recommended a lot of stuff, and I can't swallow that many pills, but he recommended melatonin, and so I'm on that with the magnesium, and I sleep now through the night, and I never thought about sleep as such a big deal because I'm always been kind of a workaholic, so I always looked forward to waking up at 4:30 and starting my day at work, but now I sleep till at least 7 or 8 every day, so I'm getting a lot more sleep than I've never had, and I think that makes a difference.
And when your nervous system becomes regulated and calm, your body's able to sleep better because your body doesn't want to sleep if it thinks there's danger and threat around the corner. So all these things build off each other, and your sleep time is so essential for your body to heal and repair. So when you give yourself 8 hours versus 6 hours, so many things start to function normally, including everything from the calorie density of the food that you naturally gravitate towards to your body's ability to fight inflammation. All of that improves, and everything in between from getting the sleep. So I tell people that if you understood how powerful sleep was, it would be the last thing you sacrifice to increase time in your day to be productive. If you're not giving yourself an 8-hour sleep window, you are shortchanging so many parts of your health that it's like the first thing I would focus on. So I'm so glad, AJ, to hear all of these things that you're so right. It's all coming together. You have to do all these things. It's not one of these things, it's all of them.
Okay, so people are asking for contact information for Dr. Lederman. So guys, I can't do show notes until the show has aired or in the middle, but I don't want to not pay attention to Matt. So it's in previous episodes, but I promise I'll get that to you because if you want to work with Dr. Lederman or his wife, that's what they do. And we can talk about that in a second. I just want to get to this question from Faith. Will I be taking the ivermectin and mebendazole when I start immunotherapy, or do they want you to stop the other drugs? That's a good question because they're not being given to me by the oncologist, and I guess I should probably be honest about it. Oh, another thing, Dr. William Lee recommended a bunch of supplements because he is a big believer that for cancer, you want to optimize your gut health. And so he's given me a list of things. So far, I've gotten 2 of them of things he actually takes. I guess that would be, one of them is called Akkermansia, and I forget the name of the other, but these are things that don't seem to bother me in any way. So the only thing I seem to have side effects from is the ivermectin, and I hope it'll go away. But Matt, do you think I should tell the doctors that I'm taking it?
So I think definitely be transparent. There's no reason to hide anything. And if they get reactive around something that you feel confident doing, then we'll navigate that together. But Dr. Mackus is the one that's been supporting you with the ivermectin and mebendazole and recommending the melatonin. And he has lots of people that he's working with that are doing it concurrently. So they do the treatment with both. So they'll do the ivermectin, the mebendazole, some of the other stuff, plus the conventional treatment. And it doesn't appear, according to him, that there's any type of concern not to. So do you want to tell people what you decided to do? You want me to explain that?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but Dr. Mackus was a consultation. He's not my prescribing doctor, and I made sure that I got a medical doctor to prescribe these things because I didn't want to be buying them illegally or from some website. I buy them from a legitimate pharmacy, and I'm under another different doctor's care for these because you know what I mean? Yeah, I wonder if we should. I feel that Dr. Mackus says that the patients still take the drugs during treatment, but I probably should.
I know that's what he does, and I think it's a matter of what you're comfortable doing. Those drugs have a very low risk profile. They seem in general to be very, very safe, and it ultimately, like you said, you have different doctors that you're working on. And what I like to work with you around is the understanding the risks and benefits of the different things so that you can make an informed decision. And it sounds like you figure out, even with Dr. Makis, he gave you a whole list of stuff. You figured out as we talked through what you were comfortable with. And I think if you're comfortable doing it, then it's especially given the changes that you've had in just a 3-month period, I would keep doing what you're doing, including the emotional work, including the sleep, including the breathing exercises, including the ivermectin and bendazole. If that's what you've been, since that's what you've been doing. That's what seems like it resonated with you at least.
Yeah, and I'll keep trying to up that dose of ivermectin. It's been a week on 12. It's just, even at the low dose, I don't know what it is about it that makes I really can't see. So that's just.
Yeah, and that's, if it doesn't, if there is side effects that are intolerable, then you wean down or wean off. And I mean, to me, it's working with you. It's not forcing you to do something that doesn't resonate. And I think the other thing is that we looked really hard and worked with lots of experts to try and figure out what's the right, more conventional treatment. And do you want me to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I can
Yes.
get the information so people want to contact you.
Yeah, so Keytruda is a type of immunotherapy, which we're very excited about, that basically helps your AJ's immune system fight cancer and fight her cancer. So normally cancer cells hide from the immune system by using a kind of shield called PDL1. And we measured AJ's in her system, she had a large amount of this PDL1, which was actually good news, because there's a drug called Keytruda that works by blocking this shield and targeting that shield so that the immune system can see the cancer cells and attack them more effectively. And we both talked to Alan Goldhammer, and one of the things that he gets excited around immunotherapy, and I agree, is that people on these healthy diets, healthy lifestyle, and even Dr. William Lee, talked about how immunotherapy works better in people with optimized microbiome. And being on a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet and exercise and sleep all optimizes your microbiome. So you put all that together, starting this treatment gives AJ a better chance of keeping her cancer under control by strengthening her body's natural defenses. And it's got a lower side effect profile. And it can take some time to see full benefits, but the goal is to slow or stop this growth and then allow her immune system to attack it. And I mean, in the end, you feel great. So even if it just stopped growing now, and you'd be very happy. But our bigger goal is for her immune system to attack it, right, AJ? And get rid of it.
Well, absolutely. But I'm happy when there's no growth. And like you say, I've been having these CT scans since August of 2022 and PET scans since March of 2023. And this is the first time it hasn't grown. So
Exactly.
just the fact that it's not growing, and actually was like a millimeter, I don't know, a millimeter's not a lot, but still it was a millimeter smaller. That's going in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's so big that it's not so big, and meaning monumental, that it's not growing. Because the last scan, actually, it started off slower when Dr. McDougall was working with you. Started off slower, and then in the most recent set of scans, it seemed like it was growing a little faster, and that's when we saw the spread. And then all of a sudden now, instead of it growing even faster or continuing to grow that fast, it actually stopped growing, or if anything, got a little bit smaller. So it's significantly changed its trajectory, which is very promising. And then now we're going to add in this other stuff, and I'm very excited to see all of this come together.
Yeah, I wonder if my terrible anxiety from being diagnosed actually made it grow faster and worse, but I didn't have any kind of help in that space since then. And so we're going to start, Matt's not coming with me. I'm going to start immunotherapy. Yeah, this is what we're doing. I'm going to start immunotherapy this Thursday at 3 p.m. For those of you that pray, that would be a good time to do it. And I feel like it's very low risk in terms of side effects. I mean, the worst side effect, which I know only one person it happened to who was allergic, it doesn't seem to have the depth and breadth of side effects as chemotherapy for most people. This is the other thing that's been helpful is people that have been on the drug have been talking to me and telling me their experience. And there doesn't seem to be long-term side effects, or if they are, they're very tolerable. I feel like any side effect that you could get is probably better than death, right? Pretty much. So there's the potential for everything is potential, even hair loss, nausea, diarrhea, but these seem like they could be very manageable if I get them. I mean, it's almost like they expect you to get it because they give you so much medicine. This is anti-nausea medicine before you start. I'm going to be having it for 6 months. So every 3 weeks, starting this Thursday, probably be every 3 Thursdays. And I will finish it right before I go to the job at Cuca College and Rancho. So that'll be good. So I'll have 8 treatments and they last about 35 minutes is my understanding. And you can bring a friend. You can't live stream. I've already asked. They are very strict about not having any hospital personnel on camera, but they do allow me to film it and then air it later as long as I don't show anybody that works at the hospital. And I'm not allowed to show the medicine either. Like, I don't know why that's a rule, but I'm going to respect that. And if it's not too boring, I'll just film myself. I have a dear friend who's a Reiki master coming with me for the first treatment. So Charles wanted to come, but you can only have one, and I'd rather have, oh, there's going to be a dog with me. This is the best part. So there's a dog named Juvie. She is the most beautiful, gentle black lab that works at Sutter. And I got to reserve her for the whole treatment. So I'll have a dog with me. I think if you have a dog, you could get through anything,
Oh
honestly.
my God. Talk about regulating for the nervous system, the ability to hug and hold a pet. It's so, so good for you. How do you feel? I just love to hear more about how do you feel having gotten these results and doing all this work that you've been doing and sort of seeing the impact of all this. What are you feeling right now?
You mean the impact of just the way people are responding, or
Well, the people responding and what you've been doing, the personal growth work, and then
it's
seeing the
crazy
impact on the
because
scan.
it's mind blowing because, I've done some videos on topics that I think are amazing or recipes, and I never got listen, I would rather not have cancer, but I've never got the kind of views or interest since this. So it obviously is a hot topic and resonates for people for many reasons. And, it's hard to I wish I could just put it behind me, but I feel like that if there is a purpose or a reason for me to go through this, it's, I always look at it as a way to help other people, what I've gone through. And, most people wait until they're done and become a survivor to become an advocate. And I kind of was like thrown into it really early for being an advocate because I've always been a person that like rooted for the underdog. Growing up, one of my favorite movies was Revenge of the Nerds, or I forget Charles, what's the one with the football team that we love so much? The Replacements. I've always rooted for the underdog. And, when I found out that lung cancer was the least funded and most stigmatized cancer because people assume that everybody with lung cancer smoked, which is not true at all, and it's on the rise with young people, especially women who never smoked, I felt like I had to make people aware of that because it seems so unfair to blame the person for their disease. We could do that in a lot of areas. We could do that in alcoholism or or colon cancer. We could say you ate too much bacon, but yet for some reason it's still a thing where people believe that everybody that had lung cancer gave it to themselves, and even if they did, that's not how you treat people. So I kind of want to make that known and use my platform for having the people on and the organizations because I didn't know this. Did you know this, Matt?
And it's so helpful that it's people not to feel alone. And remember how you felt before you were able to tell people, and other people that are holding this alone, and it's just been so helpful to you. It sounds like just to be able to share it and be transparent.
Imagine well, I've been holding the baby thing alone for 25 years,
Yeah.
because the few people I told were not the right people. They were like, well, it wasn't a real baby, or like your past has no impact on, I wasn't telling the right people apparently. But yes, there is freedom in, not keeping something inside, and that's not means that everybody has to do it. But like I said, it's really, I almost wish I was, somebody gave me a journal. I could have been documenting this because if I ever am called to write a book or somebody wants me to, but it wasn't like I just did one thing. I really admire the people like Francis. It's like, got lung cancer, had surgery, had chemo. and now it's 17 years later. My life doesn't look like that. But, little things, it's almost like doing that 1,000 piece puzzle I showed Dr. Lee that's all white. You just have to keep plugging along. And I did go to a lot of people in the clergy and just like, I don't care about what the religion is. They're all good to me. And I went to a Episcopalian minister and a Catholic priest. This was while I was at True North because I was struggling there. I also, I did 2 water fasts, and I'm sure Dr. Goldhammer would like to take some credit for that, that my tumors are getting better.
Yeah.
We don't know.
I don't know.
Just we don't know what caused it. We don't know what's making it get better, but I know the water fasts are beneficial, and I'm going to find out today at my appointment with the True North doctor if he wants me to fast the 3 days of immunotherapy, meaning the day before, the day of, and the day after. I will do that. I know they don't like people to fast at home, but if that'll help the immunotherapy be more powerful, and if I've done 4 days, so I could do 3, and I think I'll be fine. Also, the other thing, I started juicing. I'm not going to be 100. I mean, not that I'm not. I don't choose right now to be 100% raw because there's just too much chewing for my little jaw with TMJ. But Charles has been making me green juice every day, and he's drinking it too. And that stuff is like octane fuel. So I've been doing that. But anyway, the 2 people of the clergy told me that keeping this a secret was keeping me sick. They actually said that. They both, different faiths, different sexes, different religions, when I told them the story, because I thought about coming out, but people were so worried about that it was going to hurt veganism, and then they said this is keeping you sick. But the minute I went public, it was like, oh, it's like, okay. They say you're only as sick as your secrets. So
Yeah,
now,
there's actually data. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, now all my secrets are out. I'm an open book, so there's really nothing else I can share that's been hidden in there.
Yeah, and it's so health promoting for you. There's a guy named James Pennybaker who did a ton of research on expressive writing. And this is actually one of our talks where we show all the different data. There's lots of studies on expressive writing and writing your deepest, darkest secrets that you wouldn't share with anybody else, and getting it out on paper. And even just getting it out on paper showed impacts on blood pressure and to CD4 counts with people with HIV, to asthma and lung function, to rheumatoid arthritis, pain, and fibromyalgia. So look up James Pennybaker if you're interested and see about expressive writing. But if you can't talk to somebody else because you're self-conscious, or they don't, a lot of times it's hard to talk to people because they give you advice. So, you have people like, the way when we talk, or like when you talk with Mark, or there's certain people, AJ, that you probably know that they can, what we call, hold space for the other person, versus them trying to give advice or share their own opinion or relate it to themselves. That's not helpful. But being able to get your secrets out, get your stuff out, and have it be held or accepted, whether it's on paper or it's someone else, super healing, and there's a lot of data on it.
Yeah. No, it's been great. And I so appreciate you, it's just leading me into these directions that I've resisted for years, because frankly, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of like the rides at Disneyland. Let's do a metaphor. I mean, some of them are pretty scary a little bit, but you don't generally you don't generally die from them. I mean, I'm sure there's rare exceptions. And this more emotional healing work, I think the thought of it is scarier than the actual doing of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's very scary for some people, especially when they've had trauma, and there's parts of them that are trying to protect them. So how do we do it? We don't just rip the Band-Aid off or tear them open. There's a process, and for each person, the path looks a little differently. But we can't achieve true healing until we've sort of worked through all of this, or you have to work through it. That implies you got to finish. It's actually just starting to work with this stuff is what allows the healing to happen.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
So
trying to. Yep.
AJ, it's scary, and at the same time, I know the clients that I work with, because as a primary, I'll do certain things, but then there's sort of like these specialists in all these different areas. And when I say something to you like, AJ, I just need you to talk to this person, do 5 sessions with them, like with Mark, it's scary at first, right?
Well, what's not scary is that he's like such a kind and unique human. And it's like, I mean,
But not knowing before, you're like, what are we going to talk about? What's going to happen? I mean, once you get to know him, when we had this thing where we all had to talk about what our different superhero was, if it was that would represent us. And what I thought was so endearing was when Mark said, I'd like to be able to say something like Spider-Man or Superman, but really what resembles me the most would be a Care Bear. And with the rainbow shooting out of his heart. Have you ever seen the Care Bears, AJ?
Yeah, well, that's why I call him a magical unicorn. They generally
Yeah.
have rainbows shooting out of something.
So he is a Care Bear with rainbows shooting out of his heart, and it's just so healing. But it's scary for people that have never done that work.
Sorry, somebody's asking me what milligrams of melatonin I'm on, and I would have to go to the other room. I think if it's a thing 8 or 3, but man, it's amazing that some of these supplements are as powerful as drugs,
Exactly.
I don't ever consider myself somebody having sleep problems, other than now I'm realizing maybe I did not sleep enough. But even just the magnesium before the melatonin was added, I don't know if it's placebo or, I've been on it for months now, and it's like Charles takes it too. Well, we barely have time to do our 5 Weeby breaths. We're knocked out,
You're not.
and then adding the melatonin added like 2 hours to my sleep. No, I'm pretty happy, and I'm optimistic because I really feel like this is going to dictate my healing. Like to be in the place that I was when I started was not a good place for healing, so optimism, gratitude, attitude is going to what's going to get me through this. And I've already decided, like I'm thinking about the immunotherapy, like that's why I'm having Ananda with me, because she's very spiritual, and the chaplain will be there. Like I'm kind of visualizing it, like just doing what it needs to do, whether it's, optimize my immune system or kill, like I'm just going into it with a very positive attitude, like that this is going to work,
Right. Yeah.
and then if it doesn't, then something else will work. And then I'm going to live long enough that something else is going to work. I don't feel defeated or like it's time to even give up or anything like that.
Well,
I did feel that way. Like when you hear certain doctors say, okay, now you're stage 3, and now I want you to see a death doula and a palliative doctor. But by the way, I might see a palliative doctor because I realize they're not just because you're going to die. There's things they can do for management. So I probably will see one. But I was in a very bad place when I had that appointment, when I was told the bad news, because being diagnosed with stage 3 with a MET was like, it was way different than being told you have stage 1. Like stage 1, it's a baby cancer. It's, but like that, like this time it was like, it really got my attention.
yeah. And I would love to reframe it too, that it's going to work. What you're doing is already working.
Mhm.
And we're going to keep adding to that in a way that feels comfortable and accessible and to you. And the taking away hope and optimism is one of the worst things you can do if you're trying to strengthen your immune system. And they've shown that gene expression of immune system cell, it's significantly negatively impacted by lack of things like hope, lack of things like meaning and purpose. And when you increase meaning and purpose and hope, you strengthen the immune system too, which I know for some people is so hard to understand. But even if you don't understand it, you got nothing to lose by trusting me on this.
Yeah.
Like just do it.
Well, that's why I think everybody should have a Mark session. But the thing is, and I was so surprised. I thought that once he was on the show, he would fill up, but he hasn't gotten that many calls. I think people might think of it as scary, or they're not ready to open what they think might be Pandora's box. So,
And I think that there's this phenomenon that people, when there's unpleasant feelings, they don't understand treatment that isn't focused on eliminating the feeling. If instead of, they don't understand the value of being with the feeling. And that is, it's really hard to explain. It's hard to get people to open up to that, AJ. I think, do you know what I'm saying? Like if they're focused on eliminating the feeling that's unpleasant, eliminating the problem and fixing it, quote unquote, versus being with it, that's very hard to understand why that's valuable, let alone beneficial.
well, it's a whole different paradigm because all anxiety treatment is about getting rid of the anxiety.
Exactly. And that doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, maybe they'll get to this work. So the reason I brought Bailey up is there's a question from Auntie Maxine. What is my happy place? This is my happy place. And And now the biggest gift that cancer gave me is the ability to really say no, like, because I mean, I'm not that big of a pleaser, but as a female, I'm a lot more people pleasing than, let's say Dr. Alan Goldhammer. And now, I mean, I really like the gift I've been given is to know that life is finite. And so I just don't want to ever do anything I don't want to do anymore, whether it's, going to a movie or I don't want to be that polite I can't. And every time I'm away, I think, well, do I want to go to that movie and be away from Bailey for 2 hours or and Charles? And, I mean, there's a lot of jobs that I've been asked to do, and it's like, I'd rather just pet my dog, to be honest.
Right.
That's like
It's
my favorite thing.
you have sounds like you have so much more clarity around what really meets your needs, and you're staying really true to that, honoring that.
Yeah, because she had it wrong. That's the other thing. It's like I hope, I have these bracelets that Jody gave me, strength and hope, but I think I want to get the other one that says faith, because I know that a lot of people are not doing well for whatever reason, whether it's they feel what's going on with the world or, I want people to know to have faith, and that there is always hope. I mean, I said that for 31 days of my cancer series because this dog was so sick. She was at death's door twice. And, like Lazarus, she bounced back. So just if I have a message for people is never give up hope. Never give up hope. Ever.
I love that. I love it, Adrian. Well, I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited to see the journey you're on and all the fruits of your efforts. And it's just been a real pleasure, a real inspiration for a lot of people, AJ.
Well, thank you. And I'm proud of you. And I'm so glad to connect because my favorite thing in life is comedy, specifically improv. And just like working with Mark or doing any kind of inner healing work, people are so afraid of that. And people are so afraid of comedy, and it's so, I wish people could experience what we experience when we're doing it. That it's like a drug, isn't it? When you do a good scene and hit it out of the
Uh,
park.
yeah, just being in that moment and that flow, absolutely wonderful. And I love how it made me laugh, AJ, when you said how it showed me how you integrated the work you're doing with Mark. When I said I was nervous about, not getting it right or looking stupid, and you said maybe you should talk to Mark about that part of you. Maybe you have a part that's really nervous and trying to protect from something. And I thought it was so cool that you connected with the
Absolutely.
parts work, and then you were coaching me, and I was like, I think AJ's right. I got to go talk to Mark.
Yeah, well, I think you have a critical part, that like
Yeah,
the fancy doctor part that can't afford to be looking, silly or something. But think about
exactly.
Patch Adams, just
Exactly.
you should probably start wearing a red nose when you see your patients.
That's
So
maybe that's the trick.
here is oh God, but talk about being nervous. So the thing, okay, I want to explain to people something because I've been promoting on, if you're not on my mailing list, you don't see it probably, chefaj.com. So we've been promoting this conference in Vegas because the producer hasn't done a conference in about 6 years. So his list has dwindled. So we're helping him sell tickets, even though it's not my conference, I'm the host. But what I'm excited and looking forward to is not just hosting. I've hosted 30 conferences, is that I'm actually supposed to do stand up. And that is also I'll probably have to work with Mark because I'm really nervous because Matt, if you think improv is daunting, I think stand up is 100 times more daunting. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Because
God.
with improv, the great thing about improv is if you're with the right people, they have your back. And when I've done shows, we hug each other and hit on the back and we say, we have your back. So it's collaborative, but stand up, you're the only one out there. And if you suck, you suck, And while I don't expect to be heckled at a vegan conference, I'm going to be, if I can get this set together, I'm going to be performing with like real comedians, like that do the Tonight Show and things like that. And I'm hoping to have my comedy set being about like, the funny things of cancer. Like, and yes, there are funny things, and and there's good things about cancer. And that's the other thing. Focus on what's right instead of what's wrong. When they told me that I couldn't go to the dentist the whole time I'm in treatment, I'm like, this is great. Like, I don't even have to have my teeth cleaning this year.
You're finding the silver lining, right?
Yeah, and jury duty. I mean, like this is the thing. From the first visit, because I wasn't being facetious. Jury duty is one of the most anxiety provoking things for me. And I said, "Can I get out of jury duty?" She goes, "Oh, you never have to do it now." And I'm like, "Well, that's good." You know, I wish that for civic duty, they would let me volunteer at a school or a prison. I don't mind giving to my government back, but there is something so inherently stressful about jury duty, you know?
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
figuring it. Go ahead. Sorry, go
So
ahead.
Matt, people are asking you questions. So I need to get the show notes from the last show so that they can work with you or your wife, Dr. Alona Poolday. But in the meantime, there is a question from KS for you. What is your opinion on cancer screening? I'm not convinced that I should get it. I'm turning 47 this year. I would encourage you to watch some of the older videos on my channel with Dr. McDougall on that, but great question, and take it away, Matt.
Yeah, and it's a great question. It's a question that can be pretty charged for people on various sides of this topic. And I don't have a ton of time to go into this, but I guess the bottom line is there's risks and benefits to screening and to not screening. And I think that the benefits are way blown out of proportion to what they really are, and the risks are not really represented fairly. And until you have all that information, you can't make a good assessment. I don't know what type of screening they're talking about, but I usually use breast cancer screening as an example. And I think at the end of the show here, AJ, I don't want to get into a charged topic and not really be able to give it the time and space it needs. So how is that for a general answer? And if we want to do another show on my thoughts and concerns around screening, I don't ever tell anybody they shouldn't get screened, by the way, but I do think people need more information before they can make a truly informed decision.
Well, I would also say, what would you do with the information? You know, because here's the thing. My mom always said this, never say never. I remember when I stopped getting screened I had my last mammogram, I think when I was about 40, and they said, well, what are you going to do if you get cancer? And I said, well, nothing. And they go, what do you mean nothing? And it's like, well, I go to the True North Health Center, which is what I did. But I'm in a position now where I'm not doing nothing. So I would say to ask yourself, is that information going to help you? Or is it going to make it worse? Because for my psychology, knowing made it worse. I would have rather not known. But then again, maybe it's a blessing that I did know. I don't know. I don't have
Yeah,
a crystal ball. So I think it's really a very individual thing, you know?
exactly. And I think that's the key. And spending time helping people understand that before they make a decision is really important. But a lot of doctors don't have the luxury of time in the conventional system to talk about things that way. And to me, that's essential. That's why we left the conventional system to create this own model or this other model.
The other thing is like, I kind of, I really wish Dr. McDougall was alive because I think we could be having such great shows and great conversations, the three of us, about this. But when I had the gentleman on my show named Chad Bonifiglio, who works for Tatar Genetics, to talk about his cancer screening, because remember, I hadn't come out yet. I wish I could have, because Dr. McDougall was going to come out with me just like you did in that episode. And so I paid $2,200 to have a blood test to say whether or not I had cancer, because early on, they were going to remove the lung without any proof that I had cancer. They just felt that was the right thing to do. And I'm like, I would be really pissed if I had my left lower lobe removed and then you found out it was cancer. I would be really pissed. There are people that would have rather done that. And because I couldn't get a biopsy at that point, because, that's why this lady that tells me, oh my God, I have a 2 millimeter tumor. And I'm like, I don't think people realize how small that is, because mine started at 14 and it couldn't be biopsied at 14. And I'm like, these are crazy making to sometimes know these things. But I had the test done because it was driving me crazy not knowing. And that was in December of 2023. And it's a simple blood test. And you can, as a consumer, and just get the blood test. It's a different blood test when you've been diagnosed, but the technology is there that you can get a blood test to basically say if you have cancer in your body. And Dr. McDougall was very upset about that because he felt it was going to result in overtreatment. And if anybody out here watching knows H. Gilbert Welch, Dr. Welch, I like
Yeah, he's great.
literally 2 days before Dr. McDougall died, because and that's why people like, he looked great. He sounded great. I talked to him all the time. It was wonderful. It was like I was Commissioner Gordon and he was Batman. I could call him anytime and Zoom with him. He was really keeping me just so calm, and he was fantastic. But I had emailed him 2 days before he died, and I said, "Can you hook me up with H. Gilbert Welch, to be on the show?" And then unfortunately he died. So I have not been able to find H. Gilbert Welch, but he was concerned about this blood test because he felt it was going to result for some people to do over treatment, when certain things like certain cancers, like prostate cancers, are very slow growing. But then again, see, I would never judge somebody for doing that. Maybe in the past I would, but I'm a lot less judgmental now because all this shit that's happened to me, because there are people that have the BRCA gene that choose to have the surgeries and things like that. What nobody seems to take into account in this whole equation is somebody's psychology. And that's going to make the difference on whether or not I think they should get screened.
Right. Exactly. I think it's important, and we have to take each person's psychology and situation into effect. And there's risks to these things. And H. Gilbert Welch has great books on should I be tested or screened for cancer, and overdiagnosis, and understanding health statistics. Really, really interesting stuff. And but AJ, I have another meeting now, and I'm gonna have to wrap up. But I just want to see if there's anything.
No, well, we can come back. Do you guys like
Yeah.
Dr. Matt? You want him to come back? We can have some fun. And I love
Yeah,
your idea of making Disney World once I'm done with treatment and in remission, or NED. I'll accept NED, no evidence of disease, cured, whatever you want to call it. And we'll make it like a 5-day excursion, and we'll have like meetings with Mark and you at night and do all kinds of fun. Oh, comedy. We'll do improv with
we
the
could
people.
do improv there, and I know Alone is in, so it'll be the four of us at the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get
Yeah,
everybody
well,
else.
and Mark will come, right? So
Oh,
5.
I'm agreeing. I'm gonna RSVP yes for him, even though we
Okay.
haven't asked him yet.
Okay, well, he has a family. Maybe they'll all come. So anyway,
Right.
well,
Anyway,
Lashana Haba'a at Disney World. All right, thanks
exactly.
everybody
Well,
so
AJ,
much.
thank you so much, and congratulations on all the hard work and everything that's happening for you.
And thank you for getting me into this space, Matt. Thanks so much. If you need to go, I'll just say goodbye to everybody real quickly. So thanks everybody for all the cards, wishes, prayers, and gifts. And please remember, if you send a gift, please let us know how we can contact you, because so many are coming either without addresses, without emails, and sometimes even without names. So we'd like to be able to thank you. And if at all possible, if you have, not that I want or need any more gifts, but if you do send me books, because I have visual disturbances from the ivermectin, it would be more helpful if you send an Audible book, just because right now I can't see straight. So thanks so much. Think of me Thursday at 3 when I will get in my treatment, and I'll try to do a video and let you know what it's like getting immunotherapy. And please tune in Thursday at 10 a.m. No, is it 10 or 11? It's 11 a.m. Pacific time this Thursday with Dr. Michael Clapper and a patient of his who is a doctor named Madeline Long, who is a 10-year lung cancer survivor. All right.